13th of July 2023. This is one of that what a fuck moments, and it is about BRICS and some realities around BRICS. I did mention a while back that I was dragged into a WhatsApp group that is around the BRICS preparations for the conference. Now, I want you to look at this video clip and listen carefully to what that guy is saying.
In 2014, we took a $2 billion Eurobond from JP Morgan Stanley. That is the next part of what I'm coming to. But all I can tell you is that we have investigated that bond so extensively, the revelations will be mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. That money is anchored nowhere in any development project, in totality. And I want to tell you that $1 billion never even came into this country. Never came here of that $2 billion. Yet, this year, we are supposed to pay back that money.
Now, many of us was not going to be surprised by what he said. But that is a very important thing to remember, because that is how the West works. That's how XXX works right across the globe. Funds, these vast sums of money, are being given to governments, are never properly accounted for. And the bulk of it sinks into corruption holes. But the West don't care. First of all, they're running up the debt with which they will lever those governments, and the interest on it is going to keep the nation poor and prevent it from developing. Now, if you want to talk about BRICS, you need to think very carefully and you need to think strategically. BRICS was set up, and China and Russia is the main levers in that operation. And China and Russia is going to use BRICS to break the dominance of the G7 and the dollar. That is their strategy. They saw what the West did to Libya and to Iraq, and they decided, well, they're not going to go that route, so they went this route. And Biden's sanctions war against Russia gave Putin the ideal opening to haul BRICS out onto the foreground. Now, the initial aim of BRICS is to replace the G7's dominance on the world markets and to break the grip of that weaponized dollar. That is why the BRICS Development Bank was all of a sudden pulled onto the foreground by Putin and Xi. And there's a major thing that you must understand. The Saudis jumped in to the Development Bank, and they offered to finance that bank. Now, for you guys sitting here in South Africa, and especially these black guys that I see on the groups that are rubbing their hands to get funds from the Development Bank, I've got some news for you. The BRICS bloc is made up of a hell of a lot of countries that are developing countries, countries that are busy breaking away from that absolute slave and colonial and debt bondage that the West has placed on them. And they are trying to break out of it. So they are totally committed to growing their economies. They are totally committed to growing their economies. And the BRICS Bank is going to assist them And you must understand, the BRICS Bank is not going to be in the handout and charity business. Because the money that is in the BRICS Bank comes from BRICS member countries, with which they are enabling the BRICS Bank to help in the development role of the BRICS members. Not like the West that is sitting on pools and oceans of money that they stole from the developing world in any case. And then they just print shit. Whereas the BRICS Bank will be operating in the BRICS currency, which is a currency backed by commodities. So they cannot create money out of thin air by pushing a button and the printer goes brrrr. It's not going to happen. So the BRICS Bank management will make very sure that whatever they invest in a country, not invest, they provide for investment in a country, that money will have to be reflected in stuff that they can see, that they can actually repossess. So it will be machinery, infrastructure, things like that, not dreams and promises and bullshit. And whoever gets money from the BRICS Bank will have to pay it back with interest, because it is not the BRICS Bank's money. It is member countries of BRICS's money. And whatever money a country put into BRICS Bank capital pool is money that it takes away from its own citizens and its own development. So don't live in a fucking fairy tale and think you're just going to go there and hold your hand and they're going to give you money like in this video. It's not going to happen. That is the one reality that you must understand. The second reality is the BRICS countries, the bulk of them, are focused on growing their economies. And the BRICS countries are obviously going to look at opportunities in the BRICS bloc. Opportunities, not handouts, opportunities. So a guy sitting in Kenya that is running, let's say, a textile operation in Kenya, successful textile operation, and he's making a lot of money. He's going to look at South Africa. And he's going to say to himself, okay, there's a lot of labor available there, that's not a problem. Okay, there's an issue with electricity, but we will most handle it like this way and that way, and let's say he overcomes all those obstacles. And then he walks in and he decides, now's the time I want to set the project down. And then he's confronted with all this cock about the South African government dictating local ownership and so many % of the company must be given to a local guy and all that cock. And then that oak sits here and he thinks to himself, fuck, for 20 years I've been working my ass off in Kenya. I started off with one machine, I've got now 5 million machines, and I'm making a shitload of money, and now this guy, sitting that side of the table, he wants to dictate to me that I must give a portion of my business to some local that I don't even know. Fuck that. He gets up, gets in his car, and he goes. And he goes to the next BRICS member, which might be Zambia, or Botswana, or Namibia. That is something that you have to keep in mind. Now let's look at another side of it. In the current BRICS bloc, the current one, the Russians are white people. So if they want to invest, if a Russian businessman wants to invest in a project in South Africa, what is he going to find on the table? BEE. Now you think I'm making a joke. Go and look what happened to Starlink from Elon Musk. Starlink did all the groundwork and all the investigation and found everything was okay, everything was fine, and they were ready to deploy to South Africa. And the government confronted Elon Musk with the BEE shit. And Musk looked at it and said, and he left. And he is, now as we are talking here, the people in Rwanda is connected to the internet via Starlink. South Africa, sitting here, oh fuck, what happened? That's the realities. So this clever plan of the ANC to fuck our society up with racism, to use BEE and affirmative action to destroy the white small businesses and medium businesses, and with the BEE shit, take the big enterprises and make a few cadres very rich and then destroy it, like what happened to so many one of the big engineering operations and all of these things. You know the story, I don't need to repeat it to you. All of a sudden, the BRICS, other BRICS members are looking and they saying, fuck, we are trying to grow our economies, but that ANC in South Africa, they are dead set on destroying that economy that they have. And then they want to come here and come and beg us for help. So, I've got news for you guys that is all starry-eyed about BRICS. Today, we are 1 of 5 in BRICS. 1 of 5. But by the end of August, it looks like we're going to be 1 of 41. Now ask yourself what is going to happen to South Africa's presence in BRICS once all those new members come in. Because there are countries like Egypt, like Turkey, like Saudi Arabia, like Iran, all big operators. They're going to come in, and it's going to make all of a sudden South Africa is going to be the poor boy among the working class. So, this is most probably not what you wanted to hear, but this is now one of those clear instances in this world where that saying of the cleverness is broken is so applicable. So, we living here in South Africa, we're trying our best to survive under the conditions and circumstances. And I had a chat with Mr. X today, and part of the chat was about this thing about small businesses and job opportunities and things like that. And we discussed it. And I said to him, you must go and look what happened in Singapore. The Singapore government realized that the fastest way to address unemployment in their country is small businesses. Small businesses. Why is small businesses so fast? Because the guy that starts a nyama shop next to the taxi rank will start on a Monday, him alone, and by Wednesday he realizes he can't cope, and by Thursday he's got 2 helpers. And by next week in Friday he's got 5 helpers. That is how fast 5 job opportunities was created. Now imagine that replicated over every taxi rank in South Africa. Thousands of jobs, just like that. Without costing the government a fucking cent. But this stupid fucking government, they are manned by idiots Look at that woman that is supposed to be in charge of small businesses. She thought Geneva was a country. Fuck. This is what, I'm not going to go on that, because the idiocy, the idiot level in this government is through the fucking roof. I've asked people many times, if a delegation from South Africa, ministerial delegation, has to sit at a table with Chinese ministers and Russian ministers, what does those ministers actually think of our ministers? What do they think? And nobody really pay attention to that. There are excellent people in some of the state departments, but they are not the ones sitting at the tables. So, if we want to really participate and benefit from BRICS, South Africa needs to become a growing economy, not a fucking dying economy. Think about that. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.